Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to video 3 in our series on the principles of marketing. Of course, the principles are like the basic concepts or what have you, the fundamental ideas of marketing itself. Now, this is designed for my 8th grade class, so it's not a comprehensive look at marketing, and so this is designed for a group of middle school students in public education. So if you're watching this video and you're not in Mr. C's class, just understand the context here, all right? So we've already discussed what we're looking at with marketing. We've decided that marketing is more than just selling and advertising, right? It's creating value and building business and professional relationships with people, getting them to want to continually do business with your company in one way, shape, form, or another. We also looked at the differences between needs, wants, and demands. We looked at companies that do a great job with building relationships. We looked at Apple and General Motors, and we established some other ideas. So you want to make sure that you go back and review those videos. Now, one of the things that we stated was that if a company or if a business is going to market and market well and promote their products and build those relationships, okay, and promote those services, okay, you need some sort of plan or procedure or have something in place, right? Well, in order to do that, most businesses build a marketing plan, and we're going to look at the marketing plan specifically today. And this is going to be really helpful if you're in Mr. C's class, because we're going to be assigned a project where we actually build a plan based on our own personal observations, okay? I'm not going to ask you to build the plan itself, okay? You're going to do that when you get to high school if you pursue marketing, or in college or what have you. But it's just to kind of get an idea of how these things happen in the real world, right? So, in a marketing plan, here's what it is, all right? It's a comprehensive document that outlines a company's marketing efforts for the coming time period. Now, that could be a year, a few months, so on and so forth. Depending on the company, you could have like a 3-month marketing plan, you could have a 6-month marketing plan, a 1 year, a 5 years, so on and so forth. What are the overall objectives and what have you? And this might vary. Example, in the case of a new movie coming out, if it's a big budget, huge blockbuster movie, right, you're going to see a marketing plan that goes a year or more before its release, right? However, if it's a smaller budget movie, you might not have that same marketing procedure in place, right? So there you go. It describes business activities involved in the accomplishing for specific, objectives for that time period, right? In other words, what do they want to have accomplished in that time period, all right? What do they want to do, okay? Now, I'm not saying get all the sales, get everybody that does business with, have everybody that buys a phone buy a certain particular phone. That's not going to happen. That's unrealistic, right? But what do they want to have done, right? It also includes a description of the current marketing, right, in a discussion, and of the current market, and a description of the marketing mix that a business would use to achieve their marketing goals. What? Mr. C, that sounds confusing, right? Well, hang on. A description of the current marketing, right? What is currently going on in the market? What are other businesses doing? What are other groups doing? What are we doing? How can we tie in? What this makes us different, that kind of thing, right? A discussion of the target market. Who specifically is going to be marketed to? We talked about that the other day, right? Not everybody's a fan of Beyonce, but Beyonce might be marketed to everyone, okay? Or Taylor Swift or what have you. And a description of the marketing mix that a business will use to achieve their marketing goals. Mix is a mixture of everybody in the market. Okay, a mixture of everybody. All right? All right, let's see here. Let's go to the next slide and see if we could dive into these ideas and concepts here. Let me click. And down, there we go. All right, so marketing plan basics. Here's what the basic marketing does. Let me read this first bullet point and see if we can kind of dive into these ideas. And I'm sorry I don't have graphics to display on the screen and what have you. This is what I use in my class, so there we go. Define specific market segment, market target, and positioning. All right, we looked at that the other day. In the last video, we discussed kiddie cereals, right? And we decided that usually kiddie cereals are marketed towards young people. specifically, maybe kids, depending on the cereal itself, if it's like the super sugar honey O's, they might be marketed to certain groups of kids, or if they have a funny clown or what have you, they may be marketed to a certain group of kids, right? However, you look at somebody like the Trix Rabbit, silly rabbit tricks are for kids, okay? They're a little bit older young people, right? A little bit older, a little bit more mature, right? Not necessarily 3 and 4 year olds, right? Maybe 3 and 4 year olds. It depends. That's in the mix, right? But they might also be appealing towards kids in high school, right? Or kids in their 20s who want a sense of nostalgia, or if that's what they're used to, that kind of thing, right? However, when you start getting into Honey Nut Cheerios, okay, Honey Nut Cheerios is a product that's geared towards, well, kids and young adults and even some adults, especially when you look at their advertising, your marketing, and you see who they're marketing to. Then you get into like Cheerios, the unsweet kind Cheerios, and that's specifically marketed towards adults, right? Doesn't mean kids can't have them. Doesn't mean they won't market to kids, right, as a healthy alternative to cereals. But usually Cheerios are going towards people who are older, who are more conscious and concerned with their heart, so on and so forth. Same thing with like brand fiber biscuits, right? Not necessarily geared towards little kiddies, right? That's why they're not on the same shelf, right? So who will be specifically targeted for these relationships? Why on earth would kiddie cereals be at the level about 2.5 to 3 foot high off the ground? Why? Why do the kiddie cereals and the clowns and the rabbits and the goofy characters and the goofy dogs on Cookie Crisp have really big eyes, right? Right? And smiles on their faces with spoons in their hands, right? Why is that? Well, if you're thinking, well, hello, Mr. C, they're looking directly at the toddlers and the 3 and the 4 and the 5-year-olds who go by the cereal aisle. And when they see the box, they're like, Mama, I want. Right? Exactly, right? It's towards those kids, right? I want Twix! Okay, you got the idea there, right? Who is specifically targeted for the relationships? Who specifically is targeted for fiber biscuits? Adults concerned about their health, right? Will the offerings be in place in the competition, right? And what is the competitive advantage? All right. What makes Malto-Meal cereals? If you're familiar with Malto-Meal, they're like the Fruity Pebbles that wants to be Fruity Pebbles, but not quite Fruity Pebbles, right? What do they offer, right? Well, are they offering the same taste, the same texture, the same eating experience as the real Fruity Pebbles? Okay. So where do they fit in the competition? Are they Fruity Pebbles? No, they can't be Fruity Pebbles. Do they use the same recipe? No, they can get in trouble for that, but they're close, right? So their advantage or their competition is we're cheaper, right? We're our benefit because you look at Fruity Pebbles, that's expensive cereal. Malto-Meal, cheaper cereal, right? And they're placed differently on the shelf too. They're on the lower left-hand side, right? Or sometimes on the higher side. They used to be on the lower left-hand side when they came in bags when I bought it. Who knows, right? Where they are now. But there you go, all right? So there's something to think about there. Where is it going to be priced in the competition, all right? Product, service, and branding strategy. We're going to look at what will be offered, how will the brand be built, and are there going to be additional services, all right? Let's do eeny, meeny, miny, PlayStation. Okay, so PlayStation is a video game console made by Sony. Okay, so Sony is the owner, right? Sony's the brand, and the sub-brand is PlayStation, right? They're based off of gaming and home entertainment, okay? And they built their consoles so they could be as such, right? Not only can you play games on these consoles, but if you're connected to the internet, you could do streaming, various streaming services that are available for it, so on and so forth, right? And you could use your video game controller to navigate through the buttons and the menus and all that kind of good stuff, right? So they are selling entertainment, not just games, but entertainment. Now, they made their profits in their start off of being a gaming business. And then they realized, hey, we're in the entertainment business, right? So what do they offer? They offer entertainment in the form of streaming services, a fun pastime by playing video games, so on and so forth. They've already established, right? PlayStation has already established in the past how they brand themselves, right? And what have you. And they've already established themselves as an entertainment company, okay? So now they're thinking about additional service. All right, originally they were video game consoles. We just said that. Now additional services include this. Do they include online game saving now? Do they include online game access now, okay? And other services, right, through the PlayStation Network. Okay, those are things like additional services that will be offered. All right, or I'll give you another example. All right, Mr. C just bought a pair of inexpensive headphones. Okay, inexpensive headphones, and these are not good for mixing and recording, but they're good if you're being like in live sound and need to cover your ears and what have you. I use these when I'm at game day in the sound booth, so I don't hear all the extra stuff going on around me. Okay, because it throws me off, so I can be a little bit more natural when I speak, okay? So those have a warranty on them. It has a 1-year warranty, so if something goes wrong with them, I could send them back to the manufacturer, and they will take care of that for me if it's deemed that it was a defective part. Now, if it's Mr. C's abuse or something that happened at a game and I spilled Coke on them, that's on me, right? So that's an additional service they do. Additionally, I bought those through Guitar Center. Guitar Center also offers various kinds of warranties and so on and so forth. So those are things that might be thought about. What additional services are available? All right, next slide here. All right, we're going to look at development and product lifecycle strategy. That's an easy one to figure out, right? We're going to look at pricing consideration and strategies, and then channel market. All right, so let's go into these one-on-one here. All right, product development and product lifecycle strategy. The easiest way to think about this is a movie, okay? Think about the latest blockbuster that came to the movie theater. Now, Mr. C, it's 2020. The movies really don't exist right now. In fact, Regal Cinemas just shut down last week again for the second time, right? Well, that's fine, but think about the latest blockbusters, all right? In other words, think about when Avengers Endgame came out, right? Well, what happened, all right? There was this big development, right? You started seeing all this, hey, you got Avengers, the first movie, then you have all these other movies coming out, and then you have all these other movies in sequence, and it's building a lot of hype for this final Endgame movie, right? And then you saw the Avengers, the one before Endgame, not Age of Ultron, but the other one. You know what I'm talking about, right? And so when Avengers Endgame finally came out to the theaters, right? You paid the premium price to go see it. Each person that wanted to see the movie had to pay for a ticket, right? Crazy, right? And so that was representing the premium price of the cycle. Then, after a little bit of time and after it broke some records, what happened? It came out on DVD, right? Then you can now get it for one-time fee. You could get your own copy and watch it as many times as you want, right? So at one point it cost like $12 to $16 to $18 to $19 to see the movie in the theater, depending on which theater you're at, right? Now it costs maybe $25 to get it on Blu-ray, or 4K for $35, or DVD for the same price, right? And you can watch as many times as you want, and you can have people over, and you can watch the movie, and you're good to go, right? Then, guess what happened? As time moved forward, right, the prices started coming down and coming down and coming down and coming down for the copies of the movie, right? Because demand was less prevalent, right? So that represents the development and the product life cycle strategy, right? So when businesses are making the marketing plays, they need to think about what makes the product special, okay, or the service special, and what are some considerations that need to be thought of as you move forward. Now, in the event of something simple like laundry detergent, okay, laundry detergent is going to have a whole lot longer life cycle than a blockbuster movie, okay, because laundry detergent in that same recipe, in that same formula, will exist for a while, right? All right. Then you got to think about pricing consideration and strategies. We just talked about that, right? How will the prices be set? Well, in the movie theaters, right? The movie theaters set the prices, not the movie studios, right? In the when you buy a movie off of the shelf at Blockbuster or Target or Walmart or what have you, they set the prices. However, the manufacturer does have the right to say, hey, we're going to manufacture DVDs and CDs, and if you buy a certain amount of copies, you will get them for a certain discount, right? So the manufacturer does control the price. Additionally, if you're selling direct to the people, like Mr. C's favorite coffee brand used to, right, direct to the people, they control the price, right? And then, of course, you got channel management. How will you manage distribution? Are you going to put the movie on Netflix and say, okay, Netflix, you do your thing, you let people stream it, and then we get a part of the proceeds based off of viewership? Maybe, all right? Or will you send it out and distribute it to all the theaters like they used to do before it was digital, and they used to do things digitally, and they used to send out film, all right? Or, in the case of Mr. C's Coffee, are you going to send it directly to the person, Or are you going to send in something to the warehouse, so on and so forth? How will supply chain, manufacturing, quality controls, and stocking be controlled? All right, those are all important elements in marketing. And of course, you want to work with your operations managers to also figure that out, right? All right, let's see here. What else we got here? Retail and wholesale. Ooh, this is a good one. And then we're going to look at communication of strategies, plans, policies, and procedures. All right, retail and wholesale. This is basically figuring out how your customers gain access to the products. Where do they buy it? When can they buy it? From whom can they buy it, right? And how will the products or services be offered? I'll give you a good example of that, right? Let's pretend you go to the grocery store, right? Obviously, those people who are manufacturing those items choose to sell their items at the store. Now let's take on Little Debbie snacks. Oh, I love Little Debbie snacks, right? It's almost Christmas time. You get those Little Debbie Christmas trees, or you get the oatmeal cream pies, or the Swiss chocolate rolls, or what have you. All these things are tasty. Good little treat, right? Now, have you ever noticed that if you walk into a Publix store, right, Little Debbie has their own end cap. And if you don't know what an end cap is, it's at the end of each aisle, right, where products are placed, and usually there's special promotions going on. And usually Little Debbie has their own end cap, right? Why do they have an end cap? Well, for various reasons. Maybe they paid Publix and said, hey, we want to give you a discount for buying our products, and then put us there, and then that'll give us special consideration when people are walking by. So when people are walking by the meats and the deli items and so on and so forth, they're seeing all the savory stuff, they think, oh, something sweet, let me pull that off the shelf, right? Or, you know, you got all those individual candy items and such that you can buy on the impulse rack right there as you're checking out. Oh, there's a Reese's. I want a Reese's. Let me pick one up. Right? There you go. Right? So, how do people buy them? Right? Or again, like I said before, do they have to go to a store? Are they only available through Best Buy? Or even better yet, sometimes certain retailers will get special editions of certain movies, right, or CDs. I picked up a DVD once that was only available in that version from a Target store. It had a special DVD case, had special behind-the-scenes footage and so on and so forth that you couldn't get anywhere else, right? So that's another consideration. Then you got to communicate your strategies and plans. In other words, who is going to set strategies? How will those expectations be handled? What are the rules? What are the guidelines? So on and so forth. And this is really important. I'll give you a good example of this. The Bose Corporation, B-O-S-E, you know, the guys that make the really nice headphones and the nice surround sound speakers and systems and those really awesome sounding little carry speakers and what have you, they set their prices. And they tell people, you cannot sell these items, all right, for less than the price that we set. And if you do, we're going to revoke your license. You'll no longer be able to sell our products in your store, right? Which is kind of a bad thing if you can't sell the products, because they're a nice brand and they're drawing people into the store itself, right? So you've got to communicate those rules, right? What are the standards? What are the standard procedures in the event that a warranty needs to be claimed? Somebody buys headphones and I can send these back through Guitar Center, all right? Do I send them to Guitar Center or do I send them straight to the manufacturer, all right? Those are the rules that have to be set in place. All right, let's see here. Advertising, sales, and public relations. We all know what advertising is. I don't need to go into it, right? Advertising can take place on a billboard, in a magazine, right? It could take place in the form of a commercial, so on and so forth, right? What's the objective of each item? Are you just drawing people into a store? Are you just creating brand awareness? Are you saying, call now for your copy today, right? Or call now and you'll get $18.95 plus shipping and handling. Buy one, get one free, right? So, those are all things to consider, right? How will these things be achieved? And then, of course, you've got selling, all right? Selling is something that Mr. C is very familiar with, all right? He used to do a lot of personal selling. Personal selling means when people came into a store or came into an area, I was the one-on-one salesperson, right? What will the sales force consist of? How will they operate? Will there be any training, commission, structure, so on and so forth, right? Depends on the business. Each business has to get that figured out. Is there a Bose representative? Is the Bose representative go out and do some training, okay? And such, right? So all those things are considerations within the marketing plan. All right, so that brings us to our next project, or not project, excuse me, assignment. Our assignment here is to do some market research, specifically in regards to Columbia County. So you're going to copy this link found right here, okay? And when you copy the link, you're going to go to it and try to find this information. And this information is still available on this website, all right? Some of it's at the top, some of it's in the middle, some of it's at the bottom. And this represents the type of market research that might be looked at. Now, what does all this data mean? It's up for the manufacturers and the businesses to figure out how this is important. And I'll give you a clue on this. Why in the world hasn't Target come to Lake City? Well, Mr. C, they have a Target distribution center. We don't have a Target superstore. We have one in Gainesville. There's one in Tallahassee and a couple in Jacksonville, but not in Lake City. Why is that? Because because Target as a store knows how to market, and they know that Lake City isn't at the point where it could support a big Target store, especially with most of the people in Lake City gravitating towards Walmart. Okay, Walmart sustainable in Lake City. Target, not quite there yet. And there's various reasons why that is. And I'll give you a clue. It's the same reason why there's not a Mercedes-Benz dealership in Lake City, right? Yeah, all right. So go ahead and do the market research. And then if you're in class with me, we'll cover this information. And if not, hopefully you got the right information in there. All right, we'll see you for lesson number 4 in the next video.